Hey guys, this is Fractions Day 9, more word problems that we did today in class, so I'm just going to run through these for you. Hopefully these might help you on your homework. Okay, Megan spent 2/5 of her money on a doll and half of the remainder on a musical box. She spent $8 more on the doll than on the musical box. How much money did she have left? Okay, so I made this point in class today, or I have in the past, when we're working with word problems and we're given one with this, like this, where we have just a ton of information, we need to just start at the beginning and work methodically through the word problem, modeling as we go. Okay, so when I look at this word problem and I see that she spent 2/5 of her money on something, that automatically tells me that I need to spend, or I need to divide the whole of her money into 5 parts, right? So that I can mark off 2/5 for something. So I've gone ahead and done that, and then I've got that 2/5 was spent on a doll. Okay, the second part of our problem says that 1/2 of the remainder was spent on a musical box. Well, look at this. My remainder is 3 units here, right? 1, 2, 3. And she's going to spend half of those 3 units on a musical box. So since I can't easily divide 3 units into 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subdivide. Now when I subdivide my 3 units, I'm going to just subdivide the whole thing. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now I've just found an equivalent fraction here. And actually, since I've subdivided, we should write, instead of 2/5 here, we should write that she spent 4/10, right? Because now I've just changed my denominator to tenths. So that should be 4/10 right there. Okay, so it says that she spent half of the remainder. So let's now that we have an even number over here of remaining units, let's mark off half of them for a musical box. Okay, so let's write, instead of, so even though it's a half, let's write the fraction of the whole here, which is 1, 2, 3, 3/10. 3/10 of her money she spent on music. Now it says that she spent $8 more on the doll than on the musical box. So let's deal with that piece of information. Well, when I'm looking at my units, and I can kind of ignore the tenths to some degree, because what I can do is I can just look at units now. She spent 4 units on a doll, 3 units on a music, so that means she had 1 more unit that she spent on the doll. So we're going to assign that 1 unit to $8, okay? And we want to know how much money she had left. Well, she's got 1, 2, 3 units left here. So we're going to solve for 3 units. So that's going to equal 8 times 3, which is going to be $24. So she had $24 left. Okay, let's try the next one together. Lindsay read 2/5 of a book on Monday. She read 12 pages on Tuesday. If she still had half of the book to read, how many pages were in the book? Okay, so I took away the bar model there because I want to show you how I arrived at that bar model. So let's deal with the first part of our word problem here. Okay, she read 2/5 of the book on Monday. So that's telling me that I need to divide her whole up into 5 parts, right? 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll mark off 2 of those as having been read on Monday. She read 12 pages on Tuesday. Okay, let's ignore that for a second, okay? If she still had half of the book to read, how many pages were there in the book? All right, let's ignore what she read on Tuesday for just a minute, and we're going to jump to this having half of the book left to read. Okay, so I have 3 units here, and we know that's at least a portion of those units is going to be assigned to 12 pages on Tuesday. But we do need to be able to mark off at least half, right, of this remainder for her to still have to read. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm subdividing my bar model so that I can go ahead and mark off half. So let's figure out what that is. Now I've just subdivided into tenths. So now I have 10/10. So half of that's going to be 5/10. So let's mark that over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's half. And that's what she still has yet to read. Well, now we can see what she read on Tuesday, right? The only bit that is left here is this little portion. And I can't even write Tuesday very easily up there because it's so little. So I'm just going to draw a little bracket underneath Tuesday. Well, we know that on that day she read 12 pages. So we now know our unit, don't we? 1 unit is going to equal 12 pages. So if we want to know how many were left, we're going to solve for this number of units over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know that 1 unit is 12 pages. We want to solve for 5 units. Oh, we don't want to solve for what's left. We want to solve for how many were there in the book. I think I made the same mistake today in class, so that's hilarious. Okay. All right, so we don't want to solve for 5 units. We want to solve for 10 units because we want to know the whole thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so 10 units is going to be 12 times 10, which equals 120 pages. Okay, let's try another one. So this is a really fun problem, and I compared this to the Mr. and Mrs. Rich problem that we had earlier in the year. That was pretty crazy. This problem is not crazy. This is completely doable and not even very hard, but it takes a little bit of thinking and a little bit of logic to get through this problem. So let's read it, and then I'm going to walk you through it. Although, if you like a challenge, you should stop the video and try it right now, because this is a really fun one. Okay, so we've got 1/4 of the beads in a box are red, and there are 24 more yellow beads than red beads. The remaining 76 beads are blue. How many beads are there altogether? Okay, well, like always, let's just take this word problem one piece of information at a time. Okay, it says 1/4 of the beads in a box are red, so I divided my bar into 4. So let's mark red right here. And I'm going to mark a little 1/4. Whoops, 1/4 underneath that. Now it says there are 24 more yellow beads than red beads. Well, so if there are 24 more yellow beads than red beads, there are obviously, well, there's more than 1/4 that's yellow, right? So let me show you how I'm going to model that. So this portion has to be yellow, but a little bit more than that also has to be yellow. Okay? So now let me just draw a big line right here. And then I'm going to just draw this is not a subdivide line. This is just kind of a line to show me where the yellow ends, just so I can mark that, okay? So this is yellow. And it's 1/4 of the bar plus 24 beads. Then it says that the remaining 76 are blue. So this part right there is 24. This part over here is blue. Okay. Well, when we look at our bar model here, we can see that we've got, these 2 units right here are half of the bar model, right? And then that leaves this portion over here, which is also half. So even though, I'm not exactly sure where that, how many units that 24 and 76 are, I do know that added together, that's going to equal half my number of beads. So I can add those together, 24 plus 76, and that equals 100. And I know that then 2 units equals 100 beads. So that means that 1 unit equals 50. And 4 units then, which is going to be my total, is going to be 200 beads. So I love this problem because, it's not a problem that you can just kind of look at and be like, oh yeah, I've solved this kind before. I can just do this in my sleep. You really have to use logic and go about this systematically. Okay, now the next few problems are word problems where you probably don't really need to draw a bar model. Go ahead and give these 2 a try, the next 2, and come back and check. And basically the challenge is selecting the correct operation to be able to solve these. Okay, so pause the video and try those two and then come back. Okay, our question is, how many 1/3 quart glasses can be filled from 22 quarts of sweet tea? If you remember back to when we were starting our fractions unit, we went through the different questions about with division of fractions. Like, we said, how many people can you feed 1/2 of a cookie to if you had 12 cookies? And you guys all didn't even have to do anything, and you said 24. Well, this is exactly that same question, just with different numbers. So we want to know how many 1/3 quart glasses can be filled from 22 quarts of sweet tea. And if I'm thinking about this in my head, I'm thinking about like this big, huge thing of sweet tea, and I'm sure it looks just like that. Yeah, but anyways, and then we've got some little 1/3 quart glasses, and they've got, a little bit of sweet tea in there. And how many of those little 1/3 quart glasses or portions can we get out of the 22 quarts? So this is a division problem. So we're going to divide 22 by 1/3, and so we're going to copy, and then we're going to change division to multiplication, and we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of 1/3, and we're going to get an answer of 66 glasses. So hopefully that's what you got. All right, let's do the next one. Now we want to know how many 1/16 are in 3.5. So I know I told you we're staying away from decimals in this unit, and indeed we are. So what you should be doing, or what you should have done, is convert that 3.5 to a 3.5. So we're going to make that 3.5, and then we're going to divide that. We're going to divide it by 1/16. Okay, so we need to convert it to 3.5, and then we're going to make that into a mixed number. And the easy way to do that is to multiply the denominator times the whole number, and then add the numerator. So 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 1 is 7, and that equals 7/2. Now we're going to divide 7/2 by 1/16, and we're going to get 56. So let's just walk through how we got there. We divide, we copy the 7/2, and then we change to multiplication, and then we flip the second fraction. We can cross cancel here. And then we're left with 7 times 8 in the numerator and 1 times 1 in the denominator, so we get 56. Okay, this is a lot like that sweet tea problem. Each 6th grader at Eco Week, and that's supposed to be eats, I think, eats 4/9 of a pound of salad at dinner each night. How many 6th graders can be served with 44 pounds of salad? So our task is to divide the 44 pounds of salad into appropriate portions. So we're going to divide 44 by 4/9, and we're going to copy, change to multiplication, and then flip the second fraction. And check that out. We can cross cancel right there and there. So now we have 11 times 9, and then 1 in the denominator. You can imagine that as 44 over 1. But so we end up with 99 6th graders. Okay, same kind of problem. How many times must a 4/5 quart pitcher be filled in order to use up 24 quarts of water? This is a really strangely worded question, but that's okay. Let's do it. So we're going to divide 24 quarts by 4/5 of a quart. So we're going to copy, dot, flip the second fraction. And now we can cross cancel, right here. We're going to divide that by 4 and we get a 1. We're going to divide that by 4 and we get a 6. And we're going to end up with 30 times. Okay, now it's really important that you read the word problem carefully so that you know what kind of label to put with these problems, because often it seems like everybody's just sort of sticking a pounds or kilograms or whatever on there without answering carefully. And I bet a lot of you might want to put a quarts next to that 30, but that would not be correct, because the question is, how many times is it going to get filled? All right, let's see. Oh, here's another one. Okay, we didn't get to this one in class. This changes the wording a little bit, and now you have gallons of soda, but a 4/5 quart pitcher. So you need to convert, and I'm going to run through this really quickly. We need to convert the gallons to quarts. Okay, so we're going to get 96 quarts, and then we're going to divide that by 4/5, and we're going to get 120 times. All right, that's it for today.